Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Livio. I'm the CEO of HIPPEAS, a professional soccer player. That was a big passion of mine. I was a huge Inter Milan fan. Growing up in Milan, it was a big deal. Played very competitive when I was a kid. And I think I realized by the time I was 18 that it was either going to play soccer or going to school, and my parents always pushed me for school. I think my father was always school, and they always sort of just pushed me that way. And eventually, and probably because I wasn't good enough, you know, I played at a high level, but I wasn't quite good enough to just make it to the top. And that's kind of what led me to school. I played until 18 and then made it to college and kind of never followed through. So unfortunately, that dream didn't happen. But hey, we're in a great place now. When I moved to London when I was 18, so I was still very young and sort of grew up personally and professionally in London. So very different environment. There was a friend of my mother that lived there, who I stayed with when I first moved to the city, and she taught me a lot. I was only there for 4 or 5 weeks, but she taught me a lot. She told me about how the city works, and really she set me on a path of hard work and figuring a lot of stuff out. So she was very influential. Even in a short period of time, she really was very, very influential. So that was a crazy 5 weeks for me, moving away from home and really sort of landing in the big city. And she was very influential, very helpful. So I remember her. Yeah, I'll say her. She was, I don't know, for whatever reason, she really stuck. Marisa, which is the same name as my mother, which is...
Can you say it like in the Italian?
Marisa. You're putting me in a spot now. No, a song, tough one. That's a very, very traditional, old school song that everybody knows. But no, I can say something in Italian if you want me to.
Sure.
Piacere di averti conosciuto e grazie per essere venuti nel nostro ufficio. I'm delighted to have met you, and thank you for coming to our office to do this. Huge part of my culture, of who I am and as a human being, and so it's very close. I mean, the food, the culture, everything is, like I said, I feel like I grew up professionally in London, but personally, I mean, I consider myself an Italian, and when the World Cup is on, let's go Italy, and you know, it's all that. I will say my culinary and eating sort of habits have changed quite a bit. I think obviously as an Italian kid and child living at home, you get to eat a lot of Italian food, a lot of pastas, a lot of pizza, a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of great cheese, and these days I eat a little healthier than that. But then again, I think it's different. You know, I actually think the food chain in Italy is very, very different. I think the culture of cooking and the family meals is huge in Italy. It's everything, you know. So that has always been very important to me, and so that's remained. That part has always remained, and so did my wife. I mean, my wife grew up around a family where, you know, the meal occasions and is very, very, very important sort of time of the day where, you know, you sit down and over a meal you socialize. And now I see my 8-year-old sitting on a meal with tablets and phones, and I'm like, well, I will pick one of these incredible entrepreneurs who have made such a huge impact by creating great companies and doing some good. I mean, I guess latest hero today is Elon Musk, right? And what he's doing in terms of the vision, not just, you know, cars were the proof of concept and proof of validation of what he's trying to do. You know, I think the impact this guy could make to the world and carbon footprint and how electricity could be powering the world within a relatively short period of time. And he seems very much to be the leading revolutionary that is leading that charge. So a day in Elon Musk's shoes, wow, that would be exciting. I'm a big believer that we are going through an entrepreneurial age in terms of, an age where entrepreneurs will make impact and change the world in a positive way. And he's certainly one of the entrepreneurs. I would say, I mean, the greatest invention of all time. I mean, you could look at so many great things, and you could go back hundreds of years. But I think perhaps recently, I think social media and the way some of these huge social media platforms, they're not necessarily inventions, but they've changed people's life, and in good or bad way. But certainly, they've brought people together.
Definitely.
And that's pretty amazing what has happened over the last 10 years if you think about it. And it's interesting because I was involved in a very early stage social media project in London in 2000, I think it was 2005 and 6, 5 early. And unfortunately we didn't quite succeed, and because actually Facebook launched very much at a similar time. And for me to see it from inside the ropes in terms of trying to build something that was a hybrid between a social media platform and a sort of magazine, and then Facebook came and just literally you could see the phenomenon. I'll never forget summer, I think it was summer 06 or summer 06, where wherever you went, people were like, "Are you on Facebook yet?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "What about my project?" But no, just talk about making an impact. And now God knows how many billions people use that every day, and the numbers and the way of what it's doing to the world, even putting together people in countries where there are authoritarian regimes, or putting together, giving people a voice or putting people together in huge places like India, whereas the communication networks are not there. And it's this sort of magnitude of an impact to the world that I would say social media has created. That's why I think it's, over the last few decades, I think is the most impactful. When I realized I was successful, it all comes down to the definition of success. I think there's business and then there's family. I mean, to me, I will say when I had my first child and I was happily married with my wife, that to me is success. In business, I've done so many different things across so many different industries. So I guess in my mid-20s, sort of late 20s, I started doing some stuff that was getting recognized for, and started to realize I was on a path of potentially doing some good work. And the journey hasn't been a linear curve at all. But we're in a very good place today. I think I've learned how to build consumer brands. I have a very unique set of skills, and I know that I can be successful by doing what I do. I can tell you, I still remember that moment where, I mean, listen, when I was in my mid-20s, I started to be successful, and I realized I thought I could do everything, and I think it's and then a few tough times came through, and as an entrepreneur, you're constantly full of great ideas, but it really comes down to focus and execution. After all, an idea is great, but if you don't execute the idea, an idea means nothing. And I remember having dinner with my wife, I think it was when we just got married in 2009, and her saying, if I hear you talk about another idea, just it's ideas come and go all the time, and I think now I'm at a point where I need to be very, very selective of where I spend my time, because I am very, very, very busy, and therefore focus and execution, like I said, very important. One superpower, maybe reading people's mind. What's the Mel Gibson's movie called? What Women Want. Exactly. Not about the women, but more about, it's fascinating to be able to connect people and see what they think or how they, it'll be such an interesting superpower to have. People are very good at masking what they think. Yeah, that would be an interesting superpower, rather than say fly or, God knows, run. I fly way too much. I'm out of LA 2-3 days a week on average. I mean, you ask the team here, it's the last 9 weeks, I think, this is the first week I don't travel. I can do stuff like this, you see? Doing good was at the center of the core of our relatively short story today, but we give an X% of proceeds for every sale to a global charity called Farm Africa, and we have embarked on a fun mission to try and create, invest, and build a self-sustainable chickpea farming community in Ethiopia in a way where we invest with the land and with the locals and try to build something that belongs to them by really focusing on regenerative farming. So there's a huge issue with land. I mean, we are working on a very big campaign for 2018 on awareness of regenerative farming, and so we are trying in our little world to do as much good as we can. And it's always been very important to us, important to our stakeholders, important to our consumers, important to our team and our family and community. So that's very, very important. It's always has been. Paolo Nutini, he's amazing. He's an amazing. Think of a Bob Dylan type of voice, but really cool music. And I am shocked it's not a huge deal in the US because his music is incredible. But I love listening to that guy, and maybe a soft spot for Ed Sheeran, I guess. I'm in love with the shape of your front. So we even put it at the front of the box. Take a look, it's right here. Today flight, because I'm in a hurry all the time. Hopefully later in life, roadshow. I think if I want to go for a road trip where I can just chill and relax, I mean, the western coast of Italy is beautiful, from Liguria all the way through Cinque Terre and Florence and going into the Amalfi Coast. It's beautiful there. Rome and the Amalfi Coast, that's kind of like a nice week. Mac. Flipboard. Awesome office from my friends at Snack Nation. I admire and appreciate it, and I get it. I'm not very millennial when it comes to food trucks. My wife. Gin. I don't like gin. I don't like gin. Makes me angry. I don't like gin. It makes me stressed out. I don't know what it is. Gin and I don't go on well. Where's the
There's a little left.
Ugly water. Do your homework. Try to understand as much as you can where you're going with it ahead of doing it. And I know that when you embark on a journey, things change and you figure a lot of stuff out, but try to have clarity. With HIPPEAS, I knew exactly where we were going to go with, what we were going to do, how we would position the marketplace, why we were doing it. So try to really, and keep what you do simple. I mean, if you can't explain what you do in 5 words, you shouldn't be doing it. It's one of those things. Don't expect consumers or shareholders or investors or customers to figure it out for you. So do your homework, and then I would say last, but certainly not least, is just be resilient. You're gonna have no's, you're gonna have failures, you're gonna have tough time, you're gonna run out of money, entrepreneurship is not easy, and be prepared to fail and take failure as learning. I'll say ciao.